Well, if you had to describe your marriage in one word right now, what word would it be? Love, perhaps? Well, author Gary Thomas says there is a different word, a mindset, really. And if it's put into practice, it can change everything in your relationship.
Best-selling author Gary Thomas has been helping thousands of couples turn their relationships around. He says there's one word that can radically do that.
Cherish is sort of the spice. You can love without cherishing, but you can't cherish without loving. Love is important, but I want to go to that next level.
In his book, Cherish, Gary challenges us to love well and shows us how to treasure our spouse like never before.
Well, Gary Thomas is here with us now. And Gary, we thank you and welcome you to the 700 Club.
Oh, thank you for having me, Terry.
You know, most of us use that word if we do traditional vows when we marry. We say to love and to cherish. And we don't really think about it very much. I mean, we just assume those two words mean the same thing. But in fact, they're different. What is the difference?
Well, they very are, and the word was hiding in plain sight. I promised to love and to cherish, and even writing on marriage for 20 years and doing seminars and focusing on it, it was always about love, sacrifice, service, commitment, perseverance, hanging in there. And I do think that's the foundation of a relationship. In one sense, you could call it the bread of the relationship. It's what nourishes you. It's what gives substance to the relationship. But cherishing is like the jam. It's what makes it delightful. It's what makes it tasty. And if we settle for love without cherish, we end up having marriages that seem like they're more based on duty than delight. And I don't think that's the kind of relationship that's the best witness to our children, to the world, or one that honors God.
Well, you said just seconds ago that it's the word that's been hidden in plain sight. You've written lots of books about relationship and marriage, and what was it in your own marriage that needed change when you discovered Cherish?
Well, I think I was so focused on my obligations with sacred marriage and lifelong love and others. I want to do the right thing. I want to be a good husband. But I believe God convicted me saying, Gary, I want my wife, I want your wife, my daughter, to be adored. I want her to know she's a delight to you. And so I left 1 Corinthians 13 behind for a little bit and started camping out in Song of Songs 6:9. And there's one verse that came back over and over. It's chapter 6, verse 9. My dove, my perfect one, is the only one. And so for a slice of time, Eve was literally the only woman in the world. She defined to Adam what a woman is supposed to be. And I wanted to be like that with my wife, Lisa, that she's beyond compare. She's the only one I'll look at that way. She's the only one I'll talk to that way. She's the only one I'll depend emotionally upon. That I would see my wife as Eve, the only woman in the world.
And so is that the mindset you're talking about, that we change the way we see our spouse?
Absolutely. Romans 12:1, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Everybody knows that. So I have to think about that way. So for me, it was first the promise. I promised to love and to cherish. It's not just this great ideal that if you want a super marriage or to really spoil your spouse, you'll do it. We promised to do it. And then it's the mindset, looking at our husband or wife as Adam and Eve, the only woman in the world, so that we're not comparing them. And then there are a lot of just practical things that we do. What encouraged me so much, Terry, when God challenged me with this, it's something that can be learned. It's something that can be chosen. You know, infatuation is so passive. We say, well, I fell in love. And so then if you fall out of love, you can't get back. But cherishing can be chosen. It can be practiced. It can be cultivated.
So if one wants to do that, how do you choose to cultivate it? What are the methodologies that you can use to really make that not just another thing I have to do, another task, but I mean enjoyable for you as well?
Well, I think we have to follow through on the promise. It's not natural because James 3:2, we all stumble in many ways. So we're not cherishing perfect people here. Nobody gets to marry the fourth member of the Trinity, right? That person doesn't exist. So how do you cherish somebody who stumbles in many ways? One of the ways is you showcase them to others. If you cherish something, like a newly engaged woman with her wedding ring, or engagement ring, she wants everybody to see it.
That's right.
Guys will get this. If they cherish a car, hey, come out and see my baby.
It's waxed.
And they're waxing it, and they take pictures and they post it. So how do you show off your spouse? And one of the analogies I use in the book, I came across from the ballet community. George Balanchine is a famous choreographer. And he said the ballet is woman. And the notion was that people go to the ballet to see the ballerina. And so the best male dancers understand that their job isn't to show their muscles or their moves, it's to showcase the ballerina. So they're supporting her, they're turning her, they're twisting her, so that everybody can see her beauty. And the male dancer takes delight that she can be more because I'm behind her and supporting her.
Yeah.
And it's looking at marriage that way, that I want others to celebrate her. Yeah. And so I began doing that with my wife by showcasing her to myself. In 2016, I had a daily journal where every day, this was for her Christmas present, I wrote down something she had done that day that I was grateful for.
Wow.
Or that I just appreciated about her. I gotta tell you, when you get to September and you've written down 200, 300 things, it's hard to ask God to change something new about your spouse when you have hundreds of things that you've celebrated. And here's how, when I say it can be chosen, here's what changed. We were with a couple one time, and I'd come up with an idea to give to the wife. And she loved it, and she was gushing on Lisa about it and said, thank you so much, it was so thoughtful. And I walked in the room, and she saw me, and she, oh, and thank you too, Gary. Yeah. And Terry, you know, it's one of those things like, we both know you had nothing to do with this gift, but you married this wonderful woman. 15 years ago, when I was just focused on love, I think I would have said, hey, that gift was my idea, and I paid for it. Yeah. But this time, Terry, I said, what gift? Because I love to see people exalting my wife. Because when you adore someone, when you cherish someone, you want to see others celebrate them. And I realized how my own heart had changed by showcasing my wife to myself and then to others.
Power in our words, even in what we speak to ourselves. Maybe that's the beginning of it all, is like you said, I started cherishing her in my heart and mind. Yeah.
Well, every conversation, it's great that you go with words, because every conversation leads us toward cherish, or I think we start to descend toward contempt. Because every situation is how we interpret it. And am I going to nourish my wife with these words, or with my apathy, am I going to ignore her? It's all about like catching bids. If she's interested in something and I cherish her, I should cherish what she's saying. Not because I might be interested in what she's saying, but if I'm interested in who's saying it, that's how I show I cherish her, because I'm interested in something that interests her.
And you talk about the difference between cherish and contempt, and we're really doing one or the other, aren't we?
I believe we are. You know, they say familiarity breeds contempt. It should scare every married person, because nothing is more familiar than marriage. Spouse, and that's why I don't see cherishing as this extra credit add-on. For me, it's essential, because we've all seen marriages where they started out delighting in each other, they're thrilled to be together and they adore each other, and then they can't stand to be in the same room. And I share the story of a wife who is upset because I called her husband a chef. And she says, no, he's a cook. You can't call him a chef because he works in nurse. And you just think, I knew them on their wedding day. Where does that contempt come from? Well, the daily familiarities, if we don't choose to cherish our spouse and adore them that way and delight in them, that's kind of where we go. And we don't want marriages like that.
So don't diminish, build up,
Absolutely.
Cherish. That's the name of the book, Cherish, the one word that changes everything for your marriage. It's by our guest, Gary Thomas. Want you to know it's available in stores nationwide, and it's a wonderful read. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you.